So some video game series become popular because of the gameplay, other ones they remember because of the great stories. And then there are games like Max Payne that sort of managed to combine both of those into something people never really forget. Even after all the years, like very few third-person shooters have matched its blend of storytelling, the gunfights, the atmosphere and all. Like, we know the slow-motion shootouts became iconic, but what really made the series special was basically Max himself. He wasn't trying to be a superhero or an action movie star. He was this broken detective trying to survive another impossible night while carrying more emotional baggage than anyone should ever have to bear. That's why so many people or players still talk about the series today, and why the idea of a brand new Max Payne continues to generate so much excitement almost every new month, whenever it's brought up basically. So first of all, it's important to clear that Rockstar has never announced a Max Payne 4, and there's currently no official confirmation that a brand new sequel is in development. What is happening, however, is a remake of Max Payne and Max Payne 2, with Remedy developing both games as a single package, while Rockstar Games funds and publishes the project as well. These remakes are currently in full production, but they're completely separate from the idea of a fourth game. Even so, it's still pretty hard not to wonder what another chapter could look like after the remake finally arrives. In fact, the biggest challenge I think wouldn't be improving the gunplay, because Max Payne already helped define like a generation of action games. The real challenge would be finding another story worth telling. See, Max Payne has always been a character haunted by loss, guilt, and the consequences of every decision he makes, but by the end of Max Payne 3, it finally felt like he had found a small amount of peace after spending years just running from one tragedy to the next one. So like, a new game shouldn't erase that ending just for the sake of creating another sequel. Instead, it should introduce a new mystery that naturally pulls him back into a world he thought he'd finally escaped. Basically 2026. One thing the series has always done incredibly well is creating atmosphere without relying on open worlds or great big side activities. Every street, every apartment, building, subway station, abandoned warehouse all felt like it belonged to the same city. The world wasn't big, but it felt believable because every location had a purpose. So look, a new Max Payne should keep that philosophy instead of chasing trends. Bigger doesn't always mean better, especially for a series built around carefully crafted levels and some tight-paced storytelling. Modern technology could still make those environments feel far more immersive than ever before, in a way that every chapter feels distinct while still belonging to the same dark and unforgiving city. And combat is another area where developers shouldn't even try to reinvent the formula. Bullet time is still one of the greatest gameplay mechanics ever created. There's no reason to replace it. Instead, it could simply become more dynamic. Enemies reacting better to every shot you shoot, environments breaking apart during gunfights, and every dive across a room feels just as satisfying as players remember it. Modern physics, in fact, could make gunfights even more intense without sacrificing the pace, controls, or responsiveness, what made the original so enjoyable basically. And weapon variety doesn't need to become overly complicated either. The classics should always be there. Dual pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, powerful revolvers all already give players everything they need. The difference comes from how those weapons feel. Every reload, every shell casing hitting the floor, every impact against the wall and the characters, every shattered window should sort of add weight. Max Payne's never been about carrying dozens of futuristic gadgets or even something slightly exaggerated. It's about making ordinary weapons feel incredibly satisfying to use. And personally, one feature I'd love to see return is the detective side of this character. Nothing complicated, of course, just small investigation sequences between different shootouts where players examine crime scenes, piece together some evidence, slowly uncover another conspiracy. Those quieter moments would help balance the action while reminding everyone that Max Payne was once one of New York's best detectives before everything in his life fell apart. And obviously, music deserves just as much attention. The original games understood that silence can sometimes be more powerful than anything else. A slow piano melody, some thunder sound coming from a distance, city traffic. Basically, knowing when to play music is just as important as choosing the right soundtrack. And also, The visual style also shouldn't abandon its noir roots either. The dark streets, the heavy shadows, flickering lights, smoke drifting through these abandoned buildings, and the subtle cinematic lighting have always been part of Max Payne's identity. The biggest question surrounding any sequel is whether players actually want another Max Payne after so many years. And I think the answer is yes. But of course only if it stays true to what made the series special in the first place. Like, nobody basically wants to see it transform into another live service shooter or an open role game with a bunch of unnecessary collectibles and side missions. Max Payne's always worked because it knows exactly what it wants to be. A focused story, a great gunplay, little to memorable dialogues, and a protagonist who feels genuinely human despite everything he's survived. If the upcoming remakes are successful, they will probably remind an entirely new generation why these games became so influential in the first place. They also give Rockstar and Remedy an opportunity to see whether there is still room for another original chapter in the franchise. And whether that eventually happens remains completely unknown, and neither company has announced plans beyond the remakes. Still, it's difficult not to think about those possibilities, of course. Modern hardware could deliver the most satisfying bullet time sequence the series has ever seen. Better facial animations, improved physics, most importantly, experienced writers could give one of gaming's greatest protagonists another story that's actually worth telling. That's really the key to any future Max Payne. It shouldn't exist because nostalgia sells, it should exist because someone has found the story that deserves to be told. It's still pretty hard not to wonder what another chapter could look like after the remake finally arrives. In fact, the biggest challenge I think wouldn't be improving the gunplay, because Max Payne already helped define like a generation of action games. The real challenge would be finding another story worth telling. And if that day ever comes, there's every reason to believe another Max Payne could stand alongside the originals instead of living in their shadows. After all, the series has never really relied on budgets or gimmicks to leave an impression. It earned its reputation through unforgettable writing, a great action, a great character who never stopped fighting, even after life had taken almost everything away from him. If a fourth game can capture the same spirit while taking advantage of everything modern technologies to offer, then Max Payne's next chapter might end up being just as memorable as the ones that came before it. Personally, I hope that happens much sooner rather than later.